Alright everybody, it's Josh here with Zero Gravity. Just wanted to put together a little bit of a watch list. I plan on doing this every Sunday, so if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon to get notifications next time we go live. So the focus and goal for today is I just want to go over any changes from over the weekend or since last Friday that might have happened in the market that we might be able to take advantage of. This is a good opportunity for us to put some of our DD together. You can mention some ideas if you have any, strategies going into this week, or you have any stuff you put together that you think could be a good play for other people as well. Feel free to share it, throw it in the comments. I'll happily look at the stocks and stuff. And overall, I just want to build us a good watch list going into the week so we can have a good, a good little bundle of stocks already put together that we can watch closely and keep up with. Of course, everything's going to change a little bit when the market opens tomorrow morning, but as of right now, that's what I want to go ahead and start building on. So one of my first ones, of course, is let me see here. I think I got too much going on my computer here. But the first one I want to kind of go over was VIAC, CBS. This took a huge drop just basically after the big ordeal with Arch Egos, and it was kind of a huge sell-off. I don't think anything fundamentally has changed in the company, and what I've seen and what I can look at here, they actually have a good system in place to be competitive. They are just a regular network, of course, but they are also doing a lot more online streaming. Now with them, they do streaming, but they don't charge a monthly fee, so it's almost like regular TV, but you watch commercials still. You can also get movies, stuff like that, and they're doing paid commercials versus charging the consumer to pay for the service, which is extremely effective in a lot of other countries besides the United States. The United States is extremely wealthy or well-to-do, I guess, so $14 doesn't seem like a lot to us, but a lot of other countries it's really expensive. So anyways, I think that's a great opportunity there, just based on the significant drop that's here. We're looking at currently trading at $44 when just a little over a week ago it was up here at 101. It seems like a pretty easy idea there. I'm expecting a big swing back up at least, which is you can look here. This is the daily chart. It did have a pretty good run up going into here, but it looks like we're right here. It looks like what is this? I believe this is my 200-day SMA. Looks like we're preparing for a little bit bounce up. Looking at this, the kind of way I wanted to go about it strategy wise, I guess, is mostly looking at calls, of course, purchasing some, and I've kind of torn in between either looking at the leaps pretty far out here, but even like a $70 leap or a $60 leap, something like that, you can still get into pretty relatively cheap, which if I was going to go that route, I would only do a couple, of course. If I go something a little bit closer, I was thinking about maybe 90 days out. Looks like 75 is my best option there. But I was thinking about doing some, pick up like 10 of these $70 calls or something in there. That way it doesn't have to bounce crazy. And all I would really be looking for this is I don't want to really own VIAC CBS long term. I would just be looking for more of a quick kind of gain versus long-term gains with that. It's not, I probably need a new computer, honestly, guys. But anyways, so I'd be looking at some more of long-term call options, or I might go 90, or in this case 75 days out and look at something, not a huge move, but something right here around like even 65 for $1.25. If we get an initial $15, $20 bounce on this, then I'll probably cash out and sell these, or at least half of them to recoup my money, and then I will hold the rest and try to get it back closer to that $90 or $100 move, which would be pretty significant. So I definitely think Viacom's one to watch here. My next on my list would probably be Palantir, ticker symbol PLTR. And of course, this is another one that's taken a pretty good little beat down. I think a lot of this was hype run up here, so I don't look at it too much as a comparison. I don't think it's completely been beat down, but this should still easily be probably averaging around the $30 mark just based on past history with it. I did a video the other day. I'll throw a link in the end here, but we're coming up again on April 14th. There's going to be another demo event, which this is the double click event. And based on the last run here, it looks like the week leading up to it, it was a lot of higher opens, and then throughout the day it would kind of trickle back down. Gap up, trickle back down, gap up, trickle back down. I think honestly that's probably what we're going to see this week. I think what I was looking at, it was about 25.5 is probably where it's going to stay within. This was a $2 higher move than where we are currently, so $2 less here, be about 25 bucks. I think is probably where it'll stay this week. But we have a lot of good news that came out, and bad news, of course. They threw out some hit pieces on Friday to try to push the market down, of course, and the hit pieces consisted of Carp sold some more of his shares, but then you do a little bit of reading and it looks like he sold just enough to cover the taxes on it because it was options contracts that he had received from the company that were expiring. So it doesn't concern me whatsoever. He didn't actually sell to make any money whatsoever. He sold to cover his taxes. So that's not a big fear indicator for me there. So I'm not too worried about the selling part. That's everything. All the news I keep seeing negatively is all about the insider selling. So I'm not too concerned about the insider selling. They just signed another 5-year contract, $89 million. That could definitely give us a little bit of momentum going up. They just paid off all their debt. They also doubled their credit limits with like 5 major lenders. So as far as fundamental analysis, they're doing way better now than they were a month ago. Amount of contracts they have now, way better than a month ago. So there's a lot of stuff now that's way better than when they were trading at the $40 to $45 range. So I think Palantir is definitely one to watch. My plan, my goal here is, once again, I'm going to be looking at probably options calls. I already have a buku, too many. But what I'm looking at here as far as options calls is I've been buying a lot of the leaps, because right now I think leaps are pretty relatively cheap. Right at, $1,000 for a $20 leap on Palantir. So I got, 2 years pretty much for the stock to run. I think I can definitely make some money back there. But if you even look out at say $40, $500, it's not too bad as far as a leap. And what I do a lot of times with the leaps is I'll wait, I'll buy it when I think the stock is low, and when the stock gets back up again, say when it hits 40, 45, I'll start selling covered calls against that position. So it's a poor man's covered call, as they consider it. And generally I'll do that until I make most of my money back that I purchased the call for, and then I'll probably sell the call depending on what it's worth, or I'll just continue to cover calls until it all expires. The other one I'm going to be looking at here is something a little bit closer, because the volatility has dropped drastically, so the cost of close term contracts are extremely cheap. So if you look at like 9 April, here you can pick up $26 calls for 11 bucks. That's insane, right? So depending on how the market does tomorrow and the next day, if these drop down to say $2 to $3, I'll probably buy $100 of them, because I'm expecting a big run up either Thursday, Friday. If it doesn't run up Thursday, Friday, I'd be really kind of thoroughly impressed, because the double click event is on Wednesday on the 14th, I believe. But I'll also probably pick up some of these. So same thing, if the volatility stays low, then I'm going to be watching these contracts. I'm going to try to pick up like 25s, 26s on Wednesday. Probably will be the day I'm looking for, and I'm hoping just the volatility stays low. If it spikes on Wednesday, then I'll watch Thursday and try to pick them up then. But I plan on having my positions in Palantir by Wednesday. That's the overall goal there. If you guys have any questions or anything you're watching, feel free to drop the links in there. I see a couple of people have came in here. So anything that you're watching, just drop it in. I'll be more than happy to look at it, and you can share some of your due diligence with me. I'd be more than happy. What is it? I thought it was DYMD. No. Yeah, DMYD. So I believe this is the one that just signed they just signed an NFL contract. I haven't read too much in the contract, so I don't want to lie to you guys or anything like that. Also VIAC, a lot of you guys probably watched Tom Nash. He actually did a real good fundamental analysis of it and breaks it down for you, comparing a lot of the other major broadcasters out there. And that's part of what like spiked my interest in it. So definitely worth the watch. I find him fairly entertaining. He's got a good sense of humor. But DMYD, let's look at this deal here. It's with Genius Sports. As everybody knows, a lot of sports betting's becoming more and more popular. They signed a contract for $1.5 billion with the NFL Network, and it's based on data. So the part that confuses me is the data, because I know every other sports bet will still be allowed to place the bets and receive the bets. So I don't know if they're getting data a little bit faster or anything like that. But that's something that definitely caused a little bit of a spike in the market, or a spike in the stock there. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. And it's a SPAC. Speaking of SPACs, another one that I want to put on my watch list here. Let me go ahead and start filling these out for you guys. Let's see. Computer's acting crazy again. Oh, there it goes. Palantir. We're gonna go DMYD. And then another one I wanted to watch this week is IPOF. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it. It's one of Chamath's SPACs. He hasn't announced a target for it yet, but this was previously trading as high as almost $18. It was I had invested in it probably about $12, $13 range, and I rode it through 15s forever, just waiting for a target to get announced, and he has never announced anything. Now the reason I'm kind of watching this is because, as you can see, it's down $10.65. The original SPAC price was $10. So this has continued to stay extremely low with this push down, with no target announced. So I'm pretty excited about it. He draws a lot of hype and energy around his SPACs, and I think this one has got to be close. SoFi, I believe the merger is complete this next week, and I think in history he's been, usually during that week or the next week is when he announces his next target for his next SPAC. And the options on this thing have dropped almost to nothing, because I have a lot of options in here, and as I've watched, they've diminished almost to nothing. But say 21 May, so giving you 30 days, $13, you can pick up a $15 call. If this is even a decent SPAC, a decent listing that he comes out with, then I think this will see $15, $16 range, no problem. Hopefully the market starts to have a little better sentiment going forward, and we're able to jump in and pick up some of the laggers right now. And then if he announces this SPAC, then of course this thing will skyrocket, just because mostly as you've watched the stock market the last few months, most of the energy and momentum has been built around hype. So when something new gets announced, everybody wants to jump in, get in. It makes a huge move, and then it kind of slows down, and then people just start looking, where's the next shiny object kind of deal. And I think that's been happening a ton. So you almost need to get in these moves early before they make these huge runs, or otherwise you're going to miss out on the run entirely. There's been a few out there that have continued to run. Another one I was going to watch is DraftKings, just because they are still working on some legislation to pass online sports betting in a lot of different states. And this seems to be the one that most people have kind of focused on. This thing has had an insane run. And honestly, I've bought in, sold multiple times. And every time it's like, I don't think it can go much higher. I don't think it can go much higher. And then this thing just keeps running. Definitely one to watch this week, especially since it's down here. It looks like almost this exact trend line here. Yeah, it looks like it's been pretty steady right here on this upward trend line here for the last few months, and we're right at the bottom of it. So that's definitely a swing trade opportunity. I would get in now and set my stop loss around probably 60, and my price target would probably be about the 73 or so. Based on where it's running right now, it looks like we're almost in an ascending wedge pattern. Yeah, you could be easily hitting, $80 pretty easily on DraftKings. And like I said, the New York is planning on doing that this week. So if that passes, that'll cause a lot of hype and momentum back into this guy here. Another one we have to watch is AMC. I don't know how many of my grill is out there watching this, but AMC has been on a heck of a tyrant here lately. There was some, of course, you know, suppressing news on it again Friday. It seems like they always release this news on Fridays, trying to push the market down a little bit so they can close out a lot of positions that they've sold and stuff. A lot of that's the hedge funds just trying to keep the stock down, and I think that's a lot of what's going on with AMC. But this news was extremely bad. It's bad, but it's not bad. So I'm gonna try to explain this the best way I can here. Let me see before everybody kind of chews me up. So the AMC CEO announced he would like to bring in a $500 or 500 million share sale, which is huge. That would absolutely, you know, push the stock down and everything like that. It kind of frustrates me from the retail investor side, because he's openly came out and said that the retail investor has saved AMC, giving them more money and more opportunities than they've pretty much had in the past to be able to pick up and continue on with their business. Now he came out and offered this. Now the thing is, this still has to go in front of a vote in May. So it would have to go into a shareholders vote. They would have to approve it, and then they would be given the 500 million share dilution. Now that stock would still be held within the company unless they decided to sell it or something like that. I think part of his focus is he would like to try to absorb some other companies. And if he absorbs other companies, a lot of times they do a pay in stock kind of deal. So if we go through a huge, you know, let's say we go through this huge squeeze and the stock jumps up to say even 70 or 80 bucks. If he has 500 million shares, he could pretty much buy most other, you know, cinema businesses. They could pretty much be the #1 cinema business in the country. And I think that's a perspective that a lot of people haven't looked at versus the way they're looking at it. They're looking at it like he's trying to make some money, you know, sell some shares, he's gonna take a bigger paycheck, but he might be thinking about absorbing some other companies altogether. He might go for a small like Hulu platform or something and try to build AMC's business and brand from what it is. So I don't know, but anyways, that's the bad news on it. The good news on it, there was a whole bunch more shares not delivered this week. So the squeeze is looking more and more possible almost every day. I definitely would keep an eye on it just to see if it's going to happen or if it's not going to happen, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Looks like we're at a crucial point as far as this upward movement we've been on. If we continue to stay above the 50-day simple moving average here, I think we'll be okay. If we start dropping, then we're going to have to watch for one of these other moving averages, because we're kind of in uncharted territory. So I don't think there's a lot of, I could draw some trend lines and stuff like that on here, but it's not based on that. This is just based on market sentiment and retail investors pushing the stock versus hedge funds pushing it down. But the moving averages are definitely worth following. Like I said, we're right here at the 50 right now. It looks like we're about to get another double bottom bounce out of it. So that's what I would like to see. So I would probably get back in it once we cross that 10 mark, and once it's going back up and you've been able to get a signal that you're continuing on an upward trend. Once it gets back over the 10, I would get in, and then you could, you know, kind of just ride it and see where you're at, and then I would set a stop loss probably right back down here about the 82, something like that, $9, just to be safe. So you're out $1 on each share you have, if worst case scenario. But I'm hoping that the squeeze goes through as planned. The share dilution, of course, would kill it and absolutely give the hedge fund the win if they actually diluted the shares into the market. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm hoping I will come up with some links and stuff as well for you guys to send you out, so you can actually jump in there and cast your vote if you're a shareholder. It'll definitely be worth doing. Well, I figured I wouldn't have many people in here. Had a couple more than what I expected, but this is my first time doing it. Like I said, every Sunday I would like to get together for about 30 minutes or an hour, just go through some of my DD, some of the stocks I'm watching. Some of you guys could be more than happy to share some of your ideas, some of your thoughts, what you're watching, and ideally we'll put some great stuff together, and ideally, I know I've been saying that a lot, we make each other a lot more money. Appreciate it very much, you guys, and if you can, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and then you'll get alert every time I go live. I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you.